Hi, welcome back, Soas. So I have already done a video on a 503A. However, I nabbed this one from a neighbor who was giving it away. No one was asking for it and I couldn't let it go to the dump. So my intention was to clean it up and get it going and donate it to a local textile advisory or a sewing guild in my area. Unlike my previous one that I've shared, this 503 came in a table, and I'm not too familiar with all the table numbers yet, but this one I think is a number 40 table cabinet. I'll show it doesn't actually quite fit in here just right, but with this machine, it came with a cool feature called a knee bar or knee control. I use those two terms interchangeably, so you're just going to have to forgive me. Knee bar, knee control, same thing. And why I wanted to share this machine again was for that cool feature here and how to use it. I actually saw someone in one of my sewing groups ask what that was and how to use it because they happened upon a machine that had that feature. So I wanted to share that feature today. So let's take a look. I picked this up from my Buy Nothing group, even though I already have this version of this machine. Nobody was asking for it, so I couldn't let it just go to the dump. Very dusty. Nobody else wanted it in my local Buy Nothing group, so I had to just nab her. This one does have some tape residue on it, so the first thing I'm going to do is lay a oil-soaked rag over this to try to remove the adhesive. If you have a situation like this too, make sure you put a rag at the bottom to catch excess oil that falls. I have it under better light now and I'm just rubbing some oil right in. Sometimes this is all it takes to take this kind of stuff off, but we'll see. I'm going to let it soak for a few hours and come back to it. So I let oil set on this for a couple hours and I just kind of went through with my finger and kind of poked it off. I just reapplied some more oil, and do this at your own risk, but I just kind of go through lightly. Like if I didn't have my gloves on, I would just take my fingernail, and if I feel like it can come off, I'll use this. But soaking this in oil is key to removing like this really old adhesive. Like you might need to do it for a couple days if it's really bad. Now with that plastic razor blade, I want you to be very careful with that and do not come yelling at me if you scratch your machine. This is a user warning. I typically just do what I'm showing you here. I will scrub any kind of gunk off of my machines with a soft head toothbrush and sewing machine oil. That is usually my method for all of my madness of cleaning. This machine was unusually very, very dirty. And then I mean unusual because it has like this film on it that didn't come off in my initial wipe down. This ended up being a 2-day process of soaking the machine in oil and just letting it work its magic to lift off that really gunky film. Okay, here she is. There's still a little bit that I was a little too afraid of to really scrape off. I didn't want to do any damage to the paint. So this, I hadn't seen one like this before. I actually use a knee bar on my 2012 in a style number 42 cabinet from Singer. But this one is removable and it was actually in with the machine on the inside. It didn't quite fit into this drawer here, but neither does the machine actually. I have to open the drawer to take it out because it's a little too tall on the head there. However, this one is cool because it's easily removable and easily installed, and I wanted to show you how it works. So underneath here, I apparently have a chain hanging down. There is this little attachment here, and I'll open up the machine and show you what it looks like on the inside. But this bar, it simply folds down, or folds into an L shape, and you take this in here and just slide it in, and it engages the machine. So when you're in a sitting position, instead of using your foot down here on the floor, you're just pressing it to the side with your knee. To show you what is controlling the knee control. Here it is a built-in bar that powers that little bar down underneath here. That's where I attach the knee bar. So it is hardwired in, attached to the machine, so there's no need for the foot pedal. When I was first learning how to use the knee bar feature, it did take a little bit of unlearning a few things, just figuring out my best position for sewing so I'd have solid control of the knee bar. Just not searching for a foot pedal was the major hump, but otherwise everything else is totally normal sewing-wise. So typically I will share a completed project of the era of the machine when all is said and done of the overview or the display of the machine, but this machine does need some further work that I unfortunately do not have time for at the moment. After I get a few projects out of the way that are already on the table that I'm actively looking at right now, I will get to this and I'll share the progress and what happens to it in the end. Okay, for a quick overview for what I believe is wrong with this machine, the tension is off. I've already taken apart the tension assembly, but I had a hard time putting this back on because the little set screw is stripped and it doesn't want to go in correctly, so I might have to try to find one of these, which I don't know how difficult that is, but I got the terrible loop-de-loops going on with the tension there. The cam stack, I think I need to fully take it apart and redo that whole thing. It's not a mess in there. I oiled and greased the machine, but something's off. It is not providing the decorative stitches correctly. I made sure I had the cam in right. Sometimes it's just like that. I could tell by the initial appearance of this machine, it was not well taken care of, so it could just be really gross and dirty in there. I don't know. It's a little bit more work than I had anticipated it to be. So that's it for this overview of this particular machine with the knee bar, knee control. If you have the opportunity to try one out, highly recommend it. It is a different sewing experience. Those of you who grew up learning with a knee control can tell you all about it. And I highly encourage leaving a story or two down below in the comments. I have had great experiences with those longtime sewists sharing the stories of how they grew up using particular accessories or machines. Please leave your story below, and thank you for watching, and goodbye for now. I wish if this was flatter, I'd display it for the video because these are very cool. Did you spot it in the flip through there? The previous owner had a note in there from 1991 just detailing the last time it was oiled and serviced.